When I was reborn to the moment I fell into the ice cave, Xiaozhi did not jump down to save me as he did in my previous life. Instead, amidst my cries for help, he only left a cold look and walked away without turning back. In the moment I sank into the water, I saw him walk through the crowd and embrace my half-sister. His trembling back was filled with the joy of reunion. At that moment, I knew that Xiaozhi had also been reborn. I was reborn, but the timing wasn't good. It was the moment I fell into the ice hole. In my previous life, Xiaozhi disregarded everything and rescued me from the ice hole. He held me tightly, terrified that I would die. Because of this incident, Xiaozhi hated my half-sister intensely, because she was the one who insisted on dragging me ice skating, which led to me falling into the water. After falling into the water, I was bedridden for 3 years. During those 3 years, my half-sister served me out of guilt. But Xiaozhi disliked her, and would always reprimand her with cold eyes whenever he saw her, wishing he could kill her on the spot to vent his anger. During the 3 years of illness, although I received excellent care from my family and Xiaozhi, I still didn't make it through due to my weak body. After I died, my soul did not leave immediately, but continued to wander in the world. I saw that in the 2nd year after my death, my half-sister voluntarily entered the Xiao mansion as a servant to atone for her sins. No matter how Xiaozhi humiliated her, she would not leave and took care of his daily life meticulously. A year later, Xiaozhi went hunting and deliberately left my half-sister in the snow-covered forest for 2 hours. My half-sister was on the verge of death from the cold. Just as I was lamenting that Xiaozhi had gone too far, he returned like a madman. He jumped off his horse and stumbled to my half-sister's side, holding her tightly in his arms. His scarlet eyes, filled with tears, were full of remorse and the excitement of rediscovering something lost. In that moment, I understood that in Xiaozhi's long years of mistreating his half-sister, he had already fallen deeply in love with her. A gust of extremely cold wind swept past, and Xiaozhi wrapped his half-sister tightly in his cloak, while I, in this gust of wind, turned into a wisp of green smoke, completely disappearing from this world. When I opened my eyes again, my body was still bone-chillingly cold, but this coldness was different from the cold I felt before death in my previous life. I truly felt it. I struggled, my mind muddledly realizing that I had been reborn to the moment when my half-sister dragged me ice skating, and I fell into the ice hole. I saw Xiaozhi, like all the onlookers on the shore. He watched indifferently as I struggled to die. Then, he left a cold look and turned away. He walked extremely fast, as if searching for something. Then, I saw him push aside the people blocking his way and embrace my half-sister. His back trembled, even though I couldn't see his face. I knew he must be excited and joyful at this moment. I understood. Xiaozhi was also reborn. In this life, he abandoned me and chose my half-sister. As my consciousness faded into complete darkness, I shouted towards the shore, "I'll pay 100 taels to thank you for saving my life." 2. When I woke up again, 3 days had passed, just like in my past life. My mother sat crying by my bedside, her usually immaculate appearance disheveled and her clothes wrinkled. My heart ached, and I croaked out, "Mother." My mother burst into tears of joy, hugging me as she cried and laughed. My elder brother returned with a doctor, who said my constitution was too weak and that I needed to take good care of myself, avoiding any further cold or fatigue. I smiled in agreement. In this life I must be more determined and work harder to live a little longer. Father rushed back from the Yamen in a flurry, his official hat askew on his head, and despite the dead of winter, he had worked up a sweat. "It's good, so good, that my Jiao is all right." My father choked with emotion. "Madam, tomorrow I will accompany you to fulfill our vows and have a golden statue made for the Bodhisattva." My mother nodded with a smile. I sighed. In my previous life, after my death, my mother fell seriously ill and remained depressed, her health steadily declining. My father, not yet 40, retired and returned to our hometown, but he was originally highly valued by the current emperor and had a promising future. After my parents left, my eldest brother stayed in the capital alone. Although he was diligent and conscientious, his official position remained stagnant. After a few years, he became disheartened and returned home as well. "Father, use my money. I want to personally commission a gold statue for the Bodhisattva," I said with a smile. "I must strive to live well in this life." "All right. Using Jiao Jiao's money, the Bodhisattva will better feel our sincerity and bless Jiao Jiao with good health and a long life," my father said with a smile. "Sister." My half-sister Xu Rong entered the room, her eyes still filled with tears, and she walked guiltily to the bedside, kneeling down to kowtow. "It's all my fault. Hit me, scold me." Mother's face immediately darkened. "You have the nerve to admit your mistake. I suspect you did it on purpose, plotting to kill Jiao Jiao." My mother raised her hand and slapped Xu Rong. Xu Rong fell to the ground, then cried as she scrambled up to apologize. My mother hated Xu Rong, or rather, she hated her mother. My mother was born into a family of military generals. Although not of noble or meritorious rank, she was highly respected in the Northwest. My father, on the other hand, was a poor scholar who entered the private school funded by my maternal grandfather in his teens and was, in a way, my mother's childhood sweetheart. After they got married, their relationship was always good. One year, my father went away on official business, and my mother was pregnant with me at the time and unable to accompany him, so she sent her most trusted maid, Cuejuan, to go with him. Unexpectedly, Cuejuan drugged my father's wine. When my mother found out, she was 7 months pregnant with me. She immediately went into premature labor and gave birth to me. When she was slightly better, Cuejuan, who had been locked in the backyard, was already pregnant with Xu Rong. My mother was kind-hearted after all and kept them, mother and daughter. But after that, my mother never saw Kui Huan again, and she was cold and sarcastic to Xu Rong, not giving her any respect. Guards, the thought of almost losing me made my mother's anger boil over. One slap was not enough. She shouted outside, "Sell off the mother and daughter, quickly." My father felt guilty about the whole affair, and didn't dare to say a word to stop her. But I knew that in my previous life, my father eventually pleaded with my mother to keep the mother and daughter. And although my mother agreed, it led to a big fight between them. My father was depressed and got drunk. On his way home, Kui Huan stopped him and helped him to her room. If my mother hadn't found out and rushed over with people, I might have had another younger brother. After that, my parents' relationship worsened, and my mother ignored my father for a long time. "Mother," I interrupted my mother amidst Xu Rong's crying. "It's not like my sister meant to do it. Please don't blame her." Xu Rong was stunned, looking up at me with tears in her eyes, filled with surprise. My father, on the other hand, turned his back and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "You're just too kind, still speaking up for them at this time," my mother said resentfully. "I'm not kind, it's just that Xu Rong now has Boyang Marquis's son, Xiaoji, backing her. How could we possibly sell her off? Continuing to make a scene will not only push my father away but also offend Xiaoji. There are plenty of ways to get revenge and take Xu Rong's life." 3. In my past life, I always firmly believed that Xu Rong was innocent. Even though Xiaoji kept saying that Xu Rong was the one who harmed me, I still kept speaking up for her. It wasn't until after my death, when Xu Rong entered the Marquis's mansion as a maidservant, that I saw her holding my belongings with a sinister look on her face. Only then did I realize I had misjudged her. Her scheming, forbearance, and methods were beyond the reach of someone like me. Raised in the inner chambers, she knew that Xiaoji liked me, and no matter what means she used, Xiaoji would not look at her, so she schemed to make me fall into the water. I was weak since childhood due to premature birth, and if I fell into an ice cave during the coldest days of winter, even if I was lucky enough to be rescued, I wouldn't live long. Sure enough, she predicted everything. She used me as a tool, step by step. To finally achieve her wish, even Xiaozhi didn't know her thoughts. This time, I didn't agree to let Xu Rong serve me like I did in my previous life, so she only came once during these 2 weeks of recuperation. However, it wasn't that she didn't want to play the guilty sister, but that she was too busy with her secret rendezvous with Xiaozhi. A month later, while I was practicing the horse dance, my nanny came to tell me that she had seen Xiaozhi and Xu Rong having a secret rendezvous. Oh, I replied absent-mindedly, trying hard to maintain my balance. Song Shiqing snorted. Don't move, I said a teacup's time, not a second less. I glared at him. Enough already. Do you really think you're my master? Song Shiqing is my uncle's adopted son, raised in the Northwest since he was young. But I often went to the Northwest back then, and we always had a good relationship, like siblings. He went to the military camp with my uncle when he was 15. This time, he got a 3-month vacation and came to the capital specifically to see me, but I caught him and demanded that he teach me martial arts to strengthen my body, so he started throwing his weight around, bossing me around every day, and couldn't stand me slacking off even a little bit. Young lady, the heir apparent Xiao was clearly with you, the nanny said indignantly. She found it strange. Xiaozhi had been close to her before, so why was he suddenly close to Xu Rong? Heir apparent Xiao is such a grown man, he can like whoever he wants. Nanny, instead of worrying about this, why don't you think about what we should have for dinner? I'm so hungry. The nanny was angry, and Song Shiqing said with a smile, Nanny, don't listen to her, just let her go hungry for a meal. The wet nurse chuckled again and left happily. So you've been sad lately because Xiaozhi has fallen for someone else? Song Shiqing asked me. Where have I been sad? You've been looking glum. Please, I'm frowning because some people are making a mountain out of a molehill. I'm just angry. Song Shiqing was very proud and poked my forehead. Good disciple. Practice hard. Your master wouldn't harm you. Song Shiqing. I couldn't hold on any longer and fell straight backward. Song Shiqing caught me with one hand. Master Song, I lazily leaned on his arm. Can you let me rest for a while? Just 1 hour, please. Song Shiqing's cheeks flushed slightly, and she glared at me. Flattery won't work. This Master Song isn't buying it. I was about to speak when I suddenly heard Xu Rong call me from the side. Sister, cousin Song, what are you doing? I let go of Song Shiqing's arm and turned around to see Xu Rong and Xiaozhi standing behind us, having arrived unnoticed, practicing martial arts. Xu Rong looked at us innocently. You two have such a good relationship, still as close as you were when you were little. Xiaozhi didn't speak, but his expression was extremely unpleasant, gloomy, and even darker than the sky at this moment, for Song Shiqing saw Xiaozhi, raised his eyebrows, and asked me in my ear, do you want me to beat him up for you to vent your anger? I glared at him. Don't cause trouble. It's me who will be embarrassed by all the commotion. People might think I'm jealous. Song Shiqing tugged at the corner of her mouth and glanced at Xiaozhi. Sister, Xu Rong called out to me. And I then remembered that Xiaozhi and Xu Rong were still here. I couldn't help but ask, did you need something from me? Xu Rong glanced at Xiaozhi, whose face had darkened even more, and said awkwardly, the prince and I came to see you, worried that you weren't recovering well. It seems we were overthinking it. You look even more energetic than before. Thanks for your concern. I am indeed better than before. I waved my hand and followed Song Shiqing back. Wait, suddenly, Xiaozhi, who had been silent all along, spoke. He frowned and looked at Song Shiqing. Her constitution is weak. Rest is the best way. Letting her practice these things will only overwhelm her body and worsen her condition. After he finished speaking, Song Shiqing and Xu Rong looked at him in surprise. I lowered my head, my eyes downcast, a cold laugh in my heart. Was Xiaozhi feeling guilty? In truth, I don't resent him for choosing Xu Rong and abandoning me in this life. He has the right to choose. However, his cold-bloodedly watching me die chilled me to the bone. Xiao Shizi, you're really idle, Song Shiqing scoffed. Firstly, I wouldn't harm her. Secondly, is it any of your business how her body is? Song Shiqing never minced words, and after he spoke, Xiaoji's expression became even more unsightly. Xiaoji said, Jiao Jiao, if you won't listen to me, you should at least listen to the doctor. You can't abuse your body like this. I turned to look at him. I won't abuse my body. Because the doctor also said I'm doing very well. Xiaoji's expression froze, and he looked at me in shock, as if he couldn't accept my indifference towards him. His like this, making me feel ridiculous. I didn't want to see them, so I pulled Song Shiqing away. Behind me, I heard Xu Rong choking as she said, Shigij understands my sister's condition better than I do. As her younger sister, I'm such a failure. It's not your fault. Why are you blaming yourself? Xiaoji comforted Xu Rong. Just ignore whether she lives or dies. She's an adult and should bear the consequences herself. Xiaoji patted Xu Rong's head again. Didn't you want to take me to see the plum blossoms? Let's go. I rolled my eyes. How did I not notice before that Xu Rong was so good at being sarcastic, and that Xiaoji was so frivolous? In my previous life, although we had feelings for each other, he was always an upright gentleman, self-disciplined and courteous. Not to mention the way he held Xu Rong in front of outsiders when I fell into the water that day. Even in private, he never presumptuously had any physical contact with me. He and Xu Rong, it must be true love. Love so much that you can't control yourself and disregard etiquette. I suddenly thought that at this time in my previous life, Song Shiqing had also returned once, and also asked me to get up and move around more, saying that lying down every day would ruin even a healthy person. But at that time, my will was weak. It was too hard to move around, and Xiaoji also opposed me moving around too much, advising me to listen to the doctor and rest, so I lay down with peace of mind. Song Shiqing had a fight with Xiaoji because of this. I protected Xiaoji and scolded him. He was so angry that he said I was stupid and lazy, and he wouldn't care about me anymore. I never saw Song Shiqing again after that, until the day I died. However, I did hear news of Song Shiqing from my elder brother. Brother, I put down my teacup and frowned. After your leave to visit relatives is over, are you going to General Guo's Northwest Defense Camp to train? Yes, why do you ask? Song Shiqing wiped his knife and looked up at me. Don't go to General Guo's camp. In my past life, he left his uncle's camp to train with General Guo, but he was disobedient and not only fought with General Guo but also wrote a memorial impeaching him. I don't know the specific details, but I remember that he didn't gain anything in the end. He was not only flogged 80 times but also stripped of all his military posts. I don't want to go either, that old scoundrel Guorang. Song Shiqing said with a sullen face. Then don't go, remember that. Song Shiqing agreed. Got it, I won't go. With that, he left. The next day I heard that Xiaoji had been doused with excrement. Although he avoided a lot of it, he was still covered in filth and reeked. While practicing boxing, I observed Song Shiqing, wanting to trick him into admitting if he did it, but he was very cunning and didn't reveal anything. I know I'm handsome, but you don't have to be so infatuated with me. I rolled my eyes. After boxing every day, I not only didn't lose weight, but I gained 2 pounds. My parents said my complexion was much better, and the doctor praised my recovery. One day, Song Shiqing and I lingered in my eldest brother's room. They were both supervising me to take medicine when Xiaoji arrived uninvited. The atmosphere became awkward. I didn't want to stay any longer and prepared to finish the medicine and leave. I frowned from the bitterness of the medicine. And Song Shiqing chuckled. Your eyebrows are wrinkled like an old lady. I glared at him, and suddenly a candied fruit appeared before my eyes. Xiaoji actually carried the candied fruit I liked with him. Xiaoji saw that I didn't take it and pushed it towards me. Forgot to bring candied fruit again, didn't you? Luckily, I have some here. I frowned. 5. Song Shiqing watched with a warning look. as if he would chop off my hand the moment I accepted Xiaoji's candied fruit. I glared back at him and turned to Xiaoji. Thank you, Prince Xiao, but I don't need candied fruit with my medicine. In my past life, I would always complain about the bitterness and demand candied fruit whenever I took medicine. So Xiaoji would always bring some for me whenever he came to see me, because I liked them. He even consulted the cook and made a box for me himself. Back then, every candied fruit I ate felt especially sweet. But in this life, I no longer need candied fruit to take my medicine. Bitterness is also a flavor, and there's no need to deliberately avoid it. Just like my mother said, the world is full of flavors, and they are all part of life. Xiaoji looked dejected, clutching the candied fruit in his palm. I suddenly felt listless and said I was going back to rest, then left the study. After walking a dozen steps, I heard footsteps behind me, and Xiaoji called out to me from behind, "Jiao Jiao, young Master Xiao." I said blandly, "Our relationship isn't familiar enough for you to call me by my given name. It would be more appropriate for you to call me Miss Xu." Xiaoji was stunned again, seeming to want to explain something, but just as he was about to speak, Xu Rong came gracefully from the other side. "Brother Ji, are you here today for that matter?" Xu Rong looked up at Xiaoji, her cheeks flushed, her face full of shyness. Xiaoji took a deep look at me, then turned his head and said gently to Xu Rong, "Yes, I'm waiting for Master Xu to return from his duties." Xu Rong smiled, "Dear brother, you're so good, I couldn't be bothered to watch them being lovey-dovey and quickly walked away. In the evening, my mother and father quarreled. I rushed over to mediate, and when I entered the main courtyard, I saw Xu Rong and her mother kneeling in the yard. I ignored them and went straight into the house. As soon as I entered, I heard my mother say, 'Xu Junyi, you disgusted me once, and now you want to disgust me a second time. You want to put Xu Rong under my name, only when I'm dead. As long as I'm alive, don't even think about it.'" My father's face was flushed with shame from the scolding. Seeing me arrive, he breathed a sigh of relief, looking at me with a rare pleading gaze. "Dad, big brother, and cousin are back. They said they need to speak with you," I said with a smile. "Oh, good, I'll go take a look now." My father quickly left. I helped my mother sit down and said in her ear, "Mother, please agree to father for now. I can't swallow this." My mother said angrily, "The maid who grew up with me, I treated her like a sister, giving her my heart and soul, but I didn't expect to be stabbed in the back by her. I won't be able to swallow this even when I die. If she wants her daughter to be the daughter and marry well, she has to see if she has the fate." "Mother," I whispered in her ear, "I asked you to agree temporarily, not to save face for her, but to stabilize father. You can leave the rest to me. I don't want my parents to hurt their relationship over that mother and daughter. As for Xu Rong's life, we don't need to take it ourselves. In this life, every step she takes is on the road to her death." My mother did as I told her. So Xu Rong and her daughter became active. Aunt Yao actually called a seamstress to her door to make clothes for her, and she chose colors that she would never have dared to touch before. "She's worthy of wearing that color." "Bah," the wet nurse spat. All right, calm down," I said, pulling the wet nurse down to sit. "Did you take care of the matter I asked you to? When this old servant does things, you can rest assured, miss, nothing will go wrong." A few days later, the Marquis Boyang's wife heard about Xiaoji associating with the daughter of a mere third-rank official. She was furious and had Xiaoji tied up and brought back. The current emperor personally conferred the title of Anyang County Magistrate upon the wife of Marquis Boyang, who had lived a pampered and proud life. In my previous life, she didn't even think much of me, the legitimate daughter, so how could she possibly think highly of Xu Rong in this life? The reason she agreed to my marriage with Xiaoji in my previous life was because I personally grew 16 pots of her favorite camellias and gave them to her. After receiving the flowers, and also wanting to reconcile with Xiaoji, she took the opportunity and agreed to the marriage. In this life, Will Xiaozhi have Xu Rong learn to grow camellias like I did, or will he find other methods? The Boyang Marquis manor was closed, quiet and still. Xiaozhi hadn't left the house for 7 consecutive days, evidently confined. Xu Rong was pacing anxiously, occasionally asking people to inquire about the situation. 2 days later, Xiaozhi came to find Xu Rong before dawn. The two spoke for an hour before Xiaozhi left. Are you sure it's a farewell? I asked the wet nurse. He even requested an imperial decree. I saw him holding the gold medal bestowed by the emperor. The wet nurse said. Cousin, I said, calling to Song Shiqing and urging him, you must set off today, immediately. We had originally planned to depart tomorrow. Xiaozhi was predicted by you. He requested an imperial decree to go to Jiawan County in the southwest. Song Shiqing asked me. I nodded. I guessed right. Xiaozhi is planning to go to the southwest to earn military merit, bypass the Marquis of Boyang's wife, and ask the emperor for a marriage decree. In my previous life, a riot broke out among the miners in Jiawan County in the southwest due to limestone mining. The imperial court was caught off guard, and in just 3 months, they occupied 3 prefectures and 12 states. The news should have reached the capital in the latter half of last night, and the current emperor fainted on the spot. Later, in order to quell the rebellion, the imperial court spent a large amount of money and manpower, and it took a year and a half to wipe out those rioters. Since Xiaozhi has been ordered to go on an expedition, it is estimated that it will take him 3 more days to finish counting the soldiers. If you travel day and night now, you can arrive at least half a month ahead of him, I whispered. Song Shiqing packed his bags, and I asked him, but what if someone asks you why you just happened to be in Jianan County? He should have been in the capital, but he suddenly appeared there. If someone with ulterior motives wanted to harm him, they could seize on this matter. Oh, my great-aunt's mother-in-law's 3rd cousin lives in Jiawan. Is there a problem? Song Shiqing said casually. I laughed and gave him a thumbs up. It was perfectly reasonable for him to quell the riot when he encountered it while visiting relatives. 3 days later, Xiaozhi mustered his troops and set out on the expedition. I'm doing well, boxing every day, and getting healthier. On the other hand, Xu Rong is getting thinner and thinner, with blisters on the corners of her mouth. On the day my father was promoted, the mansion held a banquet, and she couldn't cover them up even with 3 layers of powder. Before the new year, good news kept coming from the southwest. After the new year, the riots in the southwest were quelled. On the military merit list sent back to the capital, Song Shiqing's name was prominently placed before Xiaozhi's. In the 3rd month, Song Shiqing and Xiaozhi returned to the capital together. The current emperor received them in the Golden Luan Hall, praising them as young talents and pillars of the nation. When the current emperor asked them what rewards they desired, Xiaozhi rushed to speak first. Your Majesty, I wish to request a marriage bestowed by the emperor. So do I, Song Shiqing echoed loudly. The current emperor burst into laughter, chatting and joking with the Grand Eunuch. A youth is wasted without a touch of madness. Tell me, which 2 young ladies are so fortunate as to capture the hearts of my 2 esteemed ministers? However, Xiaozhi did not reply immediately, but turned to ask Song Shiqing, do you also seek a marriage decree? Song Shiqing replied with a forced smile. Of course. Xiaozhi asked again. You asked the emperor to grant you and Jiao Jiao a marriage. Of course. Song Shiqing. Xiaozhi's face was full of anger. How dare you? 6. The servant at home came to report to me that Song Shiqing and Xiaozhi were fighting outside the manor gate. How did they start fighting? My first reaction was that Song Shiqing had provoked it. Although I was very disappointed in Xiaozhi, his temper had always been much better than Song Shiqing's. When I arrived outside the manor gate, Xu Rong had also arrived. Song Shiqing and Xiaozhi were in the middle of fighting, surrounded by a circle of onlookers. Because both of them were highly skilled in martial arts, and the moves they were using were the kind that left no survivors, it was quite a spectacle. Occasionally, someone would shout bravo, I was instantly overwhelmed and yelled, "Stop!" Xu Rong also shouted, "Zhe, cousin, stop fighting, please stop." When Song Shiqing saw me, he sheathed his knife and walked towards me. "Jiao Jiao, some people deserve a beating. Don't interfere, are you hurt?" I only managed to say half a sentence when I suddenly saw that Xiao Ji, who had intended to sheath his sword, was now stabbing at Song Shiqing again. I was scared out of my wits. "Careful." Song Shiqing reacted extremely quickly, and in the instant he turned around, his saber had already moved to parry. The swords clashed, and both of them were injured. "How are you?" I supported Song Shiqing and shouted at Xiao Ji. "Are you crazy? He had already sheathed his sword, didn't you see?" Ignoring the injury on his shoulder, Xiao Ji strode forward, grabbed the hand I was using to support Song Shiqing, and questioned me. "Jiao Jiao, you're actually defending him. Do you know what he just did?" Before I could answer, he added furiously, "He actually sought an imperial decree to betroth you to him. Tell me, doesn't he deserve to die? You're the one who deserves to die." Song Shiqing raised his blade, but I stopped him and questioned Xiao Ji. "What does my business have to do with you?" Xiao Ji stared at me in astonishment. "Ji Gij." Xu Rong walked over, her face pale, and called out again in a trembling voice, "Ji Gij, are you hurt?" Xiao Ji trembled, looking at Xu Rong as if waking from a dream, as if he had just remembered that in this life, he had abandoned me and chosen Xu Rong. The corner of Xiao Ji's mouth moved, but he didn't say anything. "If anything happens to my cousin, I won't let you off," I warned Xiao Ji. Helping Song Shiqing back to the manor, the sword Xiao Ji was carrying clattered to the ground. In the room, I applied medicine to Song Shiqing's wound. Luckily, it was just a scratch. "What exactly happened? Why did you guys start fighting? They hadn't fought at all in the past few months in the southwest. Why did they have to start fighting today, on such an important occasion as returning to the capital to be commended and in theft?" "He's got a screw loose," Song Shiqing said. "He asked His Majesty for a marriage decree, and I said I wanted one too. Then he asked if I wanted to marry you, and I said yes, and he just went crazy." Seeing the situation, the emperor guessed that we two were probably seeking the same marriage, so he hastily granted us rewards and sent us home. I was so angry I felt dizzy. "Let him request the imperial decree for marriage with you. Why are you joining in the fun?" Song Shiqing smiled meaningfully. "He earns military merits just to get the imperial decree to marry Xu Rong. Right? How could I let someone so fickle get his way? You should be glad you didn't end up with him. He's not worth your affection. When did I ever like him?" I said. Between laughter and tears, he patted my shoulder. "It's good that you don't like him. As for our marriage, I will definitely ask you first. Besides, we don't need an imperial decree for it. Things will fall into place naturally." "Whose marriage are you talking about? Get your head straight," I said angrily, but he changed the subject. "Why are you grabbing me and saying all this? The main thing is that he's shameless." "Okay," I said, "I'm worried about your future. You finally got the rank of lieutenant colonel. What will you do if you lose your position?" In my previous life, he was always under the command of my uncle. Because of his bad temper and intolerance of injustice, he often fought with people. He never got promoted until I died. He was clearly a capable person, but his bad temper ruined him, Song Shiqing said awkwardly, muttering, "If he provokes me again, I will still deal with him." "You, forget it. You should return to the barracks early and strive to make meritorious contributions to become the youngest chief military officer of Great Ju," I said. "You want me to be a chief military officer?" His eyes lit up. "It's not about what I want. It's about what you should want for yourself. Besides, my father has joined the cabinet, my elder brother has also been promoted, my uncle is a deputy chief military officer, and you are a major general. Our family is now both civil and military. Now our Xu family is no longer just some mere third-rank officials as others say. If you get promoted again, our family will be at its peak, a prominent and powerful household. Song Shiqing stared at me blankly for a while, then he nodded. All right. I'll make you rich and successful. I'm being serious, so be serious with me. But I am being serious, he said casually. Song Shiqing was 7 years old when he was begging for food in the Northwest and met my uncle, who adopted him at that time. He said he had amnesia and couldn't remember anything before the age of 7. Seeing that he was clever and well-behaved, my uncle gave him a name and raised him as his own son. However, it was later discovered that his well-behaved nature was all an act. Getting into trouble is his true nature. I have something for you. He rummaged through his bundle and tossed me a gold medal. This young master is rewarding you. This is a lieutenant general's gold medal, specially by the emperor for him. No one else has it. I don't want it. This thing is too precious. Keep it for yourself. Without you, how could I have been promoted to lieutenant general? Half of this thing should belong to you. Song Shiqing picked up his bundle, waved at me. This young master is going back. Don't miss me too much. I chased after him. No more fighting. Song Shiqing replied. You don't understand me at all. I never caused trouble. People just need to be taught a lesson. I let Song Shiqing's foolishness go after it helped me vent. But Xiaozhi disgusted me. What was he trying to do, wanting to keep what he has while eyeing what he doesn't? He's got another thing coming. After returning home, I heard that Xu Rong had fallen ill, and Aunt Yarrow asked my mother to hire a doctor. My mother didn't agree, but I helped them. When the doctor entered the mansion, he was followed by a humble-looking servant. That servant was Xiaozhi. I stood under the corridor, watching Xiaozhi enter Xu Rong's room with my own eyes. It was almost high hour, and Xiaozhi hadn't left yet, so I had someone tell my father. My father was so angry when he heard this that he almost fainted and took people to Xu Rong's courtyard. My mother coldly mocked my father. So this is the innocent child you were talking about, the good daughter who has kept you feeling guilty all this time. My father slapped Xu Rong and immediately had the Marquis of Boyang invited over. Lord Marquis, either have a matchmaker come to propose marriage tomorrow, or I, Xu, will risk my old face and seek justice from the emperor. Grand Secretary Xu, please don't be angry. The two children are ignorant, but we elders know propriety and keep to the rules. Rest assured, I will send a matchmaker to propose marriage first thing tomorrow morning, the Marquis of Boyang said with a grim face. Now, even if the Marquis Boyang's wife doesn't approve of Xu Rong, it won't matter. The next day, the two families quickly set the wedding date for early September. Hearing this, the wet nurse spat and said, both mother and daughter are shameless, born to climb into men's beds, thinking they can marry well and live a good life like this. Bah, that Marquis Boyang's wife is bossy and unreasonable. What good life will she have marrying into that family? The wet nurse knew the inner residents too well. If Xu Rong married into that family, she would definitely be tormented to death by the Marquis of Boyang's wife. Xu Rong and Yarrow Auntie began preparing for the wedding. My mother didn't care at all. She just allocated some silver and let them do as they pleased. Originally, according to my father's nature, if Xu Rong hadn't done such a stupid thing, he would still have inquired about the wedding. As my mother said, although my father hated Yarrow Auntie, he always believed that Xu Rong was innocent and had always felt guilty towards her. Now that this has happened, he hates them even more than my mother does. Forget about helping. He wishes he could just kill the mother and daughter. The house was cold and deserted, and Xu Rong wasn't actually that happy. When I saw her again 7 or 8 days later, she had lost a lot of weight and looked terrible, but when she saw me, she still put on a brave face, greeted me with a smile, and kept calling Xiaozhi brother Ji when talking about their affairs. Shush, I interrupted her, whispering. If you keep calling him that, the whole capital will know how close you two are. Xu Rong's face turned deathly pale in an instant. I glanced at her and flounced away. What are you so smug about? Xu Rong followed behind me, exasperated. You were born lucky. Everyone has always revolved around you since you were little. But I have nothing. If I don't fight for myself, who in this family will consider me? I turned back to look at her, sneering. Fight for yourself, then congratulations. Thanks to your efforts, your life is finally no longer your own. 8. Xiaozhi never came to my house again, and I never saw him again. The rumors about my family in the capital were forgotten as news of the floods in the south spread. The Princess Rui organized the women of the capital to donate money and goods for disaster relief. My mother was very enthusiastic and went to help every day. The day I went to the Rui Palace, I saw the Princess Nanping. In my previous life, after I died, I saw her. She and my eldest brother had a relationship, but later, for some reason, they didn't reach the point of discussing marriage. But I know that my brother and she have not forgotten each other. The Princess of Nanping is very tall and acts with great enthusiasm. Although she is exquisitely beautiful, her dress and behavior are not delicate at all. We hit it off immediately, and we agreed to go out for dinner that day. In the restaurant, Nanping saw a group of people bullying a singing girl, and she stepped in to help, getting into a fight with them. The two of us fought 7 men. The landlord reported it to the authorities. When my brother came to the yamen to bail me out, Nanping was still grabbing a man's hair and beating him. My brother stood there with a very interesting expression. When Nanping turned around, she had a line of blood hanging from her nose and looked very disheveled. This was the first time they had met in this lifetime. I laughed until my stomach hurt. 7. My brother said that the Princess of Nanping was very much like Qing from the Song dynasty. I have the same feeling. She and Song Shiqing seem to be alike, both fond of fighting injustice. Moreover, they resemble each other in appearance. Perhaps appearance reflects the heart. So people with similar personalities also look alike. Nanping often comes to my house to play, and I also go to the Prince Rui's mansion to find her. I haven't met Prince Rui, but the Princess Rui is very serious. Probably because she is the daughter of General Guo, a descendant of military officers. She has the demeanor of a great general in her behavior. She rarely smiles, and commands respect without anger. Princess Rui married late. It said she was 23 when she married Prince Rui. My mother said that Prince Rui previously had a princess, who later passed away, and Princess Rui was his second wife. When Princess Rui entered the household, the previous Princess Rui had left behind a son, who was 4 years old at the time. Princess Rui treated the child extremely well, and even said that she would not have any more children in this lifetime. But somehow, in less than 2 years, that child was gone, and the following year, Princess Rui gave birth to the Southern Peace Princess. But since then, Prince Rui and the Princess Consort Rui have not lived in the same courtyard or eaten at the same table. Although they are not divorced, they are estranged. I found it quite emotional. And then suddenly someone nudged my shoulder. It was the Princess of Nanping asking me, "Do you want to go see Jiangnan?" I was minding my own business, eating melon, when I heard that and choked, coughing for a long time before looking at her. "Do you know my brother has been ordered to go to Jiangnan? So you're planning to follow him?" Nanping Princess rolled her eyes at me. "Some things are better left unsaid. You'll get a beating for talking like that." I laughed heartily, hugging her and saying, "Good sister-in-law, please don't hit me. My skin is delicate and can't stand the abuse." Nanping pinched my cheek. "I think you're as tough as nails." After our row, we unanimously decided to go to Jiangnan. Having already died once, in this life, I just want to live well, and do the things I wanted to do but didn't dare to in my past life. Anyway, if anything happens, Princess Nanping and my brother will take care of it. 8. 20 days had passed since we arrived in Jiangnan. Nanping and I were worried that we would find a scene of starvation and devastation, but surprisingly, the situation was much better than we had imagined. Suddenly, I saw a man in the field, covered in mud, leading an ox to plough the land. I pointed at him, shocked and speechless for a long time. Song Shiqing. Song Shiqing looked over at us. When he recognized us, he grinned. his teeth looking pearly white against his sun-darkened face, brightening up the gloomy surroundings in an instant. "Jiao Jiao," he waved at me, running barefoot through the mud. "I just learned that Song Shi and I arrived here half a month ago in the early morning. He didn't just come himself, he also brought a detachment of his troops. I heard that these 300 men were the elite he trained. Not only could they fight, but they could also build houses, repair city walls and dams, forge iron, and cast weapons. They were skilled in almost every craft. When the current emperor found out, he specifically wrote an order to have him bring his troops here. Since his arrival, in just half a month, he has already completed almost all of the disaster relief work, which is why we have this peaceful scene now. It surprised me. I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. Song Shiqing was so capable. You're really amazing. My elder brother praised him non-stop, complimenting Song Shiqing for a long time. Then, as if remembering something, he introduced Song Shiqing. "This is Princess Nanping." Song Shiqing was stunned, looked at Nanping, and the smile on his face faded. "So you're Song Shiqing?" Nanping gave me an ambiguous glance, then nodded slightly to Song Shiqing. "Nice to meet you." Song Shiqing's gaze swept across Nanping's face. He nodded slightly, and then led my brother away. The two squatted on the ridge of the field, huddling together to discuss matters. "You're a bad judge of character," Nanping said to me. "Song Shiqing is nothing like the troublemaking, reckless playboy you described." I smiled sheepishly and said, "Yeah, I guess not," feeling a little awkward. I tugged on Nanping. "Let's go clean up our lodgings first, and then wander around to see if there's anything we can help with." Like Song Shiqing, we all live in the county government office, but because there are so many people, the four of us are squeezed into one courtyard, and there's no way to separate men and women. After dinner, I was washing clothes by the well, and Song Shiqing sat down opposite me. "Didn't you bring a maid on your trip? It's not like I'm out for fun." "Wouldn't it be weird if I brought a maid?" I wrung the water from my hands and scratched the mosquito bites on my legs. "There are so many mosquitoes here. In a little while, I've been bitten in 7 or 8 places." Song Shiqing looked at my legs, and then waved his hand. "Go back to your room, I'll help you wash them." "Just you." I pushed him. "Don't you dare ruin my clothes when you wash them." Song Shiqing didn't insist. He went back to his room to grab a palm leaf fan and squatted next to me, fanning me. I looked at the fan in his hand and laughed, like a little old man cooling off under a tree. Song Shiqing fanned even more vigorously. "Have you ever seen such a dashing old man?" I said with great distaste. "You're all tanned and dark. Where's the grace and charm?" Song Shiqing snorted. "Boss." Several of Song Shiqing's subordinates passed by, looking at me with a knowing look. "Is this the missus?" I was about to explain when Song Shiqing's face darkened. "What nonsense are you spouting? Get lost. The boss is angry." "Hee." The group across from me laughed even more suggestively, pushing and shoving as they shouted at me, "Hello, boss's wife." I blushed crimson at their shouts. Song Shiqing threw a pebble at them. "Get lost." The group scattered, laughing. Song Shiqing shook his fan, looking east and west, the smile never leaving his lips. I stared at him with a straight face. "Song Shiqing, your fan hit my face. I don't have eyes in the back of my head. It's impossible to hit your face. I don't have eyes in the back of my back, so hit my face a couple of times." I said, 9. There's so much to do for disaster relief. My brother is in charge of statistics and distributing food, so busy that he's never around. Nanping is also disguised as a clerk, helping to keep the accounts every day. I originally wanted to follow my brother, but Nanping looked like she would beat me if I followed them, so I had to change course and help Song Shiqing. Song Shiqing has been helping people repair collapsed houses recently. Some houses have completely collapsed and need to be rebuilt. His 300 men were divided into teams and worked quickly and well, and the local people greatly admired and liked them. Having nothing to do, I followed along as a mason, helping to carry dirt and ash, sometimes when the kitchen needed help. I would wash and pick vegetables. Jiao Jiao. In the evening, Song Shiqing rode over from elsewhere. Let's go home. I sat astride the horse, and Song Shiqing led it. The afterglow of the setting sun cast a golden light all around, making even the grass by the roadside come alive. Song Shiqing hitched up his trousers. The cloth shoes on his feet were wet and didn't fit well, so he had to shuffle along. With each step, his soles made a slapping sound, like a beat being struck. Da. Unhurried and calm, putting people at ease, Song Shiqing held a riding whip in his right hand and the reins in his left, greeting acquaintances along the way as he walked. Greetings, Lord Song. Greetings, Madam. Every time this happened, Song Shiqing would wave his hand and answer in the local dialect, which I couldn't understand, but those people would laugh even more ambiguously after hearing it. I suspected Song Shiqing was cursing at me and forced him to explain, but he beat around the bush. Do you want to eat fish? I frowned. The water is so murky. Are there any fish? Keep bragging. If you don't catch any fish later, I'll laugh at you for a year. You can laugh at me for the rest of my life, he said. 10. Song Shiqing whittled a thin bamboo stick and stood in the murky water, closing his eyes and listening intently. I don't know what he can hear, but I can't hear anything but the wind and the cicadas. But after a while, he suddenly made a move, his movements clean and swift. When he lifted the fork, he smiled at me and said, Jiao Jiao, do you want it grilled or roasted? He really caught a fish. He also knows how to grill fish, marinating it with coarse salt. By the time I finished washing up, the fish was already grilled and fragrant. I sat in the middle of 4 or 5 burning mugwort stumps. Although I was smoked to the point of being unable to open my eyes, no mosquitoes were biting me. Taste my skills. He handed me the fish. Don't be stingy. Praise me fiercely. I tasted it, and it was really good. I ate about half of it, and handed the rest to him. It's really good. Lord Song can do everything. So amazing. Of course, there's nothing in this world I can't do. Song Shiqing seized the opportunity. Looking very proud, I rolled my eyes at him. Can you build houses? Can you smith iron? Can you write documents? I think you're best at bragging. Song Shiqing sat next to me, fanning me, frowning. Little girl, you haven't seen the world and don't know how to recognize people. Lord Song doesn't blame you. I burst out laughing. Later I learned that Song Shiqing really knew everything. Where did you learn all this? I stood by the blacksmith's furnace, watching him hammer out a cleaver with my own eyes. Full of admiration, he glanced at me. Does this kind of thing need to be learned? I was choked by his words. Ah, yes, you are the smartest, fortunately. There are not many people as smart as you in the world, otherwise those masters accepting apprentices would not be able to find any. Song Shiqing smiled triumphantly. Sewing begins tomorrow. Are you going? Song Shiqing asked me. Yes, I'll go anywhere I can help, but if I'm just going to be a nuisance, I'll pass. Boss. His subordinate hurried over. Something happened to Lord Shu. Luoshan County is complaining that the seeds given to them are less than Longping's and wants Lord Shu to make up the difference. Song Shiqing threw the kitchen knife into the basin, and the water made a crisp sound. He said, Go to Luoshan and take a look. When we arrived at the intersection of Luoshan County and Longping County, the people on both sides were fighting, a dense crowd of people, some with hoes, some with bamboo poles, using whatever they could find. The scene was filled with the sounds of horses neighing and people shouting, utterly chaotic, on both sides. There were also local constables and militiamen, but they were all anxious and unable to break them up. This is outrageous. Song Shiqing put me down from the horse, then he rushed into the crowd, whipping left and right, and soon separated the people fighting on both sides. He sat high on the horse, his face grim and his eyes sharp, and he swept over everyone indifferently, scolding, You just escaped death and had a full meal, and now you think life is too peaceful. As he spoke, everyone fell silent. Later I learned that Song Shiqing had encountered troublemakers on the first day he arrived and distributed porridge, and he immediately dealt with them severely. Now the people here are both afraid and respectful of him. Sister-in-law, his subordinate, Chang Feng, stood beside me, grinning. Our boss is amazing. In the military camp, his words are more effective than the general's. I was a little surprised. He causes trouble and fights every day, and his words still work. He hits people for the good of others, and is very loyal. He never refuses to help brothers in need, Chang Feng said with a smile. No matter what the difficulty, as long as you find the boss, he'll definitely solve it. I suddenly realized that I don't seem to know Song Shiqing very well, in my impression. He was sent to the military camp by his uncle for training and discipline because he was idle and always caused trouble at home. Afterwards, because he was nosy and often fought, his official position remained stagnant. Now it seems that in the army, his way of dealing with people is actually very effective, and he is very popular and prestigious. Also, after he came here, he quickly became one with the locals. He treats men, women, old and young differently. Song Shiqing wasn't impulsive or reckless, he was clever and calculating, but he hid it all beneath a cynical exterior, something I, a shallow fool, never saw. I watched Song Shiqing swiftly resolve the conflict and begin holding the main culprits accountable, and he felt both familiar and foreign to me. 11. Song Shiqing assigned penalties to the ringleaders of both sides, dividing the people and assigning different punishments for different acts. He wasn't afraid of trouble. Checking everything one by one, the number of strokes of the board was different for each person, and he never fudged anything from beginning to end. Those who were punished had no complaints and obediently listened to his orders. By the time he finished his business, it was already dark. He helped me onto my horse and turned back into the happy-go-lucky Song Shiqing, even tossing a fruit to me. Eat it, it's very sweet. I don't believe you, I said. This fruit looks very sour at first glance. He put on an expression of take it or leave it. I still took a bite, and it was so sour that my teeth almost fell out. I was furious and threw the sour fruit at him. He laughed, caught the fruit, and ate it as he walked away. It's not sour when I eat it, so I didn't lie to you. I hate it so much my teeth itch. We stayed in Jiangnan until the end of September before returning to Beijing, with Song Shiqing joining us. When we returned, the relationship between my brother and the Nanping princess was obviously different. I quietly asked my brother if he was going to marry Nanping as my sister-in-law. My brother blushed and glared at me, but he didn't deny it. Then I'll wait to drink your wedding wine. But then I wondered, they were two lovers, both with strong and opinionated personalities, so why didn't they end up together in their previous lives? Could it be because the Prince Rui and his wife didn't approve? But my brother was first-rate in terms of character, appearance, and official position, so why would the Prince Rui and his wife object? On the day we returned to the capital, the four of us went to see the emperor together. The emperor saw Song Shiqing again and smiled even more happily. He personally helped Song Shiqing up. Young Song Qing is steady and capable, which is a blessing for me and Diaju. Song Shiqing clasped his fist and replied, "It is my honor to share the worries of the emperor and work for the people." The emperor laughed and turned to help my brother up, saying to my father, who was just entering the door, "Grand Secretary Shu, you are remarkable. Your son is promising and capable, and your nephew is also a genius. My empire is full of talent, and your Shu family also has successors." My father smiled and humbly expressed his gratitude. The emperor rewarded the four of us, promoting my brother and Song Shiqing. Nanping and I could not become officials, so we were each rewarded with a lot of gold, silver, and jewelry. "Prepare a feast. Today I want to have a good drink with my beloved ministers," the emperor said. We followed the emperor to a side. The emperor had invited many important officials, and Prince Rui and Princess Rui also arrived one after another. Nanping took me to pay respects to the Prince and Princess Rui. This was my first time meeting Prince Rui. and when I saw his face clearly, I couldn't help but be taken aback. Prince Rui was very thin, and although he was getting on in years, his appearance was still handsome. I don't know why, but I felt a sense of familiarity when I looked at him. I resemble my father. Nanping saw my confusion. Yes, you do. As I said that, I paused, suddenly thinking of something. I immediately turned to look at Song Shiqing. He had been facing us, but at some point, he had turned around, his back to us. I couldn't see his face at that moment. I think Song Shiqing and Prince Rui are also very similar. 12. As the wine flowed, the emperor became more talkative, pulling his favored ministers along to introduce each one. Song Shiqing didn't seem to be in high spirits, but he didn't dare refuse the emperor's kindness and had no choice but to follow along. I was sipping tea with my head down when I suddenly heard someone drop a cup at the next table. I looked up and saw that only the saucer remained in Prince Rui's hand. His teacup shattered at his feet, the tea wet his clothes, but he was oblivious, staring blankly at Song Shiqing. Everyone looked at Prince Rui strangely. What's wrong? The emperor asked Prince Rui. Prince Rui came back to his senses, withdrew his gaze from Song Shiqing, stood up, saluted, and pleaded guilty. I was clumsy and dropped my cup. Please punish me, Your Majesty. His Majesty was in a good mood and wouldn't say anything to him, only laughing. It must be fate that there are no teacups. So you should drink a few more cups of wine today, Prince Rui acknowledged. I quietly gazed over there, and an unbelievable guess suddenly floated in my mind. After the banquet dispersed, we didn't see Song Shiqing when we left. I thought he would return later, but he didn't come back even until the next day. My brother sent someone to look for him. He wouldn't have gone straight back to the northwest, would he? My mother said. I'll write a letter to my uncle to confirm he went back. My brother immediately began writing a letter to my uncle. I absent-mindedly peeled an orange as the old woman came in to report to my mother. Madam, concubine Yarrow has gone out again. Xu Rong had already married into the Boyang Marquis estate at the beginning of September. So I didn't see her when I came back this time, nor did I deliberately inquire about how she was doing. Now, listening to the maidservant's vague mention of concubine Yarrow, I couldn't help but ask, is there any explanation for concubine Yarrow going out? She secretly went to the residence that Xu Rong brought as dowry, and the mother and daughter met secretly. Don't worry about them, my mother said, sipping tea. Anyway, I have told your father that if she makes trouble again, I will sell her off, no matter whose concubine she is or whose mother she is. As soon as my mother finished speaking, Chang Feng was suddenly brought in, staggering. It's terrible. Our boss assassinated Prince Rui, and has been locked up. We were all stunned. 13. Song Shiqing was not imprisoned in the Dali Temple, but my brother found it strange. Why those imprisoned in the imperial clan court are all members of the imperial family. Ordinary people or officials are not qualified to be held there. Let's see him first, I said. We saw Song Shiqing. He was still wearing the dark blue robe from yesterday, with bloodstains on the collar and cuffs. He leaned back in the chair, staring blankly at the roof. His face was somewhat haggard, as if he hadn't slept all night. My mother called out with heartache, and Song Shiqing finally came back to his senses and looked at us, twitching his lips. What on earth is going on? How did you end up assassinating Prince Rui? My father asked him. I didn't assassinate him. He stabbed himself and said he was giving me his life. Song Shiqing gave a self-deprecating laugh, his tone still nonchalant. We exchanged glances, more confused than ever. Shiqing, explain it clearly to your aunt and uncle. We're worried sick about you like this, my mother said. Just as Song Shiqing was about to speak, someone suddenly said from behind, everyone, let this king explain the reason behind this. I turned back and saw Prince Rui being supported through the door, his face pale. Although he was wearing an outer robe, bloodstains were seeping through the chest area. Shiqing, Prince Rui sat down, looked at Song Shiqing, and sighed. He is this king's son. Stunned, my mother staggered slightly. Your Highness, wasn't your son already? How could Shiqing be? The Prince Rui said that the first time he saw Song Shiqing, he knew Song Shiqing was his son because he looked just like him when he was young. After he said that, my father also suddenly realized, no wonder the emperor mentioned at the beginning of the year that Song Shiqing looked familiar. We didn't even think of you. The Prince Rui gave a bitter smile. The story has to start from the beginning, and you'll understand once I tell it from the beginning, said the Prince Rui. He said that he and the current Princess Rui, née Guo, had originally been privately engaged for life, but the late emperor, without asking for his consent, issued an imperial decree to marry him to someone else. He had no choice but to marry her. After getting married, although they couldn't be called a loving couple, they treated each other with respect. The following year, they even had a son, and this son was Song Shiqing. But Prince Rui said that he had never forgotten Guoshe, and Guoshe had never married. He originally thought he had no with Guoshe and had given up hope, but unexpectedly, 4 years later, Princess Rui passed away from illness. He was heartbroken but also had a change of heart, so half a year later, he married Guoshe as his second wife. After Guoshe married into the family, she always cared for Song Shiqing very much, and even said that she would not have any more children and would just raise Song Shiqing. At that time, he sighed. What more could a husband ask for than to have such a wife? But unexpectedly, during the Lantern Festival when Song Shiqing was 6 years old, she went out to see the lantern show and never returned. He searched inside and outside the capital but couldn't find her, which led to a serious illness. Later, he kept sending people to search, but unfortunately, there was no news until the birth of Princess Nanping 2 years later, which brought him some relief. He thought things had settled down. But when he occasionally learned that Guo had arranged for Song Shiqing to go to the Lantern Festival that year, he couldn't help but suspect that Song Shiqing was deliberately lost by Guo. He questioned Guo, and Guo admitted that she did it, that he killed Song Shiqing. He couldn't bear to kill Guo. But after that, the couple completely drifted apart. Although they were not divorced, they were like strangers. Jingji, Prince Rui looked at Song Shiqing. Father didn't expect you to be alive. Father is sorry for you. Song Shiqing raised her eyes, glanced faintly at Prince Rui, and mocked. You don't need to apologize to me. The person you should apologize to is my mother. She married you for 5 years and endured you for 5 years. If she hadn't been unhappy, how could she have passed away so early? Prince Rui's face was unsightly, and he did not refute. It was only half a year after her death that you married a new wife. And even exclaimed how fortunate you were to have such a wife. You are shameless. Prince Rui's chest heaved, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. 14. Prince Rui was carried back to his manor. Before leaving, he said that he had already explained to the emperor that he had injured himself in a moment of impulse. So Song Shiqing was free to leave. Song Shiqing left without looking back. My family was in a complicated mood, and my mother said in a low voice. So this child didn't lose her memory back then. She just didn't want to mention the past. My father also sighed. My heart was bitter, and after thinking about it, I brought a pot of wine to find Song Shiqing. He leaned back in the courtyard, and when he saw me coming, he smiled. You even brought me wine. It's not in vain that I dote on you. I'm relieved you're in the mood to joke around. I handed him the wine and drank with him. We didn't speak. When 2 pots of wine were empty, he looked at me with a slight drunken gaze and said, I actually remember everything from when I was a child. When father adopted me, I deliberately lied and said I didn't remember. I nodded. When she married into the royal palace, I was very young. Everyone said she was my mother, so I called her mother. Was she pretending? Was she two-faced and unkind to you? I asked him. Was she the one who abandoned you at the Lantern Festival? Song Shiqing smiled wryly and shook his head. If that were really the case, I would have killed my way back to take revenge long ago, but unfortunately, It's not. He said that the Guo family was really good to him, and he believed that what the Guo family said about not having children and raising him was true. I still remember staying up late on New Year's Eve when I was 6. He thought I was asleep. So he sighed in my ear, saying that my mother died of illness. Although she didn't force her, she understood that it was related to her. The Guo family said that fate played tricks on people. She didn't want this to happen, but she was also in the secular world, a mortal. So, at the Lantern Festival, the one who wanted to kill you wasn't from the Guo family, but General Guo. I asked. Song Shiqing was certain that the Guo family was unaware, but Prince Rui said she admitted it. So she was covering for her father, I said. Song Shiqing